do a general session for the Direction of Humanity workshop group entitled Greater Exploration of a New Direction. Would you please begin?
In the last session, we gave you a perspective of term it what existence would manifest itself as, were humanity to choose to exist with a consciousness of free choice. Can it go from there? Can it expand from there? To a degree, what is required for an expansion is for individuals to also choose free choice. We've had a discussion with you about yourselves, and to a degree the willingness that you have to choose an existence based on a consciousness of free choice versus a consciousness of fear. And you now find yourselves wondering what all of this means. Agreed?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think it means? What do you think it means to live based on a consciousness of free choice? Does it mean that you can no longer have fear?
No.
No.
No, not at all.
Does it mean you'll never be afraid again?
No.
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 Does it mean that you'll struggle with fear? Try to push it away?
Probably.
At times, yeah.
Why would you try to push it away? You see, you almost had it. The consciousness of fear is where you create the push-pulls. In the consciousness of free choice, there isn't a push-pull.
You just allow it.
Yes,
But couldn't you still choose that if you wanted?
you could, but you see, that's your mind having a game telling you, why not? Do you see? But you wouldn't then be operating out of a consciousness of free choice. You'd be operating out of a consciousness of fear that says, see, I can allow myself to push against this because I'm too afraid not to. Do you see?
Mm-hmm.
The consciousness of fear is a consciousness that creates push-pulls. If you look in your world presently, if you look at humanity presently, there's a lot of push-pulls going on, isn't there? And you will notice that humanity has shifted when you see that decreasing. Right now it's increasing, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
There's more push-pulls in humanity every day. When the movement changes, when you start seeing a decrease in the push-pulls, then, dear friends, you'll realize that humanity is beginning to shift into a consciousness of free choice. Even for yourselves, when you look at your lives, and you look at your movements, you look at the total of your existence, when you start seeing an increase in a willingness to choose freely, to allow, without having to create a push-pull, then you'll realize you are in a consciousness of free choice. That yes, you still have fear, yes, it still exists, but yes, you don't push against it. You don't try to force it, to reduce it, to eliminate it. You simply choose. Do you see the difference? And that's how you will know when you are moving into a consciousness of free choice. Now, given that, where would you say you are presently? In a consciousness of free choice or in a consciousness of fear?
I feel like I'm moving into the consciousness of free choice.
Good. Anybody else?
I'd say I'm in a consciousness of fear, but working towards the consciousness of free choice. Because there are moments when I do it.
Anybody else?
Consciousness of fear with, as well, I'm choosing to move towards consciousness of free choice.
So you're aware that there's a consciousness of free choice, but you haven't quite chosen it yet.
Not yet.
Same with the one previous to that.
And me too.
And you do. And what about you, dear Maggie?
I would say consciousness of fear.
Caught you in the throat, that one, didn't it?
It did, yeah. Consciousness of fear because there is still push-pull in my life for sure. And but of course, moving towards a consciousness of free choice, I see free choice in my life a lot
Yes.
that I'm doing, using,
Hmm. Now, can you have both operating at the same time? Consciousness of fear and consciousness of free choice.
Yes.
I say yes too.
Why? Why would you say yes?
Consciousness of fear is just another choice.
True. But why wouldn't... See, there you are, trying to mentally work your way through this one.
I don't think so.
Why not?
Because the consciousness of free choice includes fear. It allows fear.
Yes.
But to have a consciousness of fear is different than feeling fear.
Yes.
And I think once you've chosen the consciousness of free choice, you just don't have the consciousness of fear.
Yes. It's no longer that everything exists and is filtered through fear, is it?
Right.
So, to those who thought that you could have both, review your own existence. Do you have a consciousness of fear or a consciousness of free choice? Do you have an existence where free choice is the mode under which you operate and there's fear that exists? Or do you is fear the filter through which everything is filtered?
I would change then, Wonders, because I would say that I have a consciousness of free choice where there is a lot of fear. I don't think fear is always my filter.
You don't?
I don't think so.
Why not?
Because there's a lot of choices that we do, that I do, that aren't fear-based.
Like?
Just going out with the dog, just being with grandchildren, just...
They're not fear-based. Are you certain of that?
Well, you know what? Because the sessions that we had the other day, I could see things like where if I go out and eat in a restaurant and I have a certain meal, that's a fear-based because I'm worried about putting weight on or getting too much salt or things like that. So maybe everything I do is fear.
What about going out with a dog?
I'm afraid he's going to be too hyper if I don't go out with him.
There you go.
So,
What about the kids, the grandkids?
I love being with them, so I'm
True.
afraid that...
You're afraid of what?
I'm afraid that if I don't spend time with them, they won't know me. So
So therefore it's a consciousness of fear.
So I get confused then because everything that we do, or that I do, seems to have fear-based to it.
So where does free choice come in? Where's the confusion for you?
Well, what's a choice then where there is no fear?
Can you allow yourself to be with your grandchildren and not be afraid that if you're not, they won't know you?
Yes, but...
No buts. The only butt you have is the one you're sitting on.
I feel that I do that all the time, but if I get right down to it, then I feel that there must be a fear there, or...
No, but you see, you try to convince yourself that you're doing it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But underlying all of that, this is what we're talking about. There is a consciousness of fear here.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you see? And this is what individuals in this group and anybody listening to this recording must realize. You can convince yourselves as much as you want that you exist in a consciousness of free choice. But underlying everything, dear friends, we assure you, there aren't many individuals on the planet that exist in the consciousness of free choice. Most individuals exist in the consciousness of fear, which is why humanity as a whole exists in a consciousness of fear.
Yeah.
Yes, you can convince yourselves that it's free choice. Yes, you can say to yourself, yeah, I could be without my grandkids. But then, if you're really honest with yourself, that sends fear through you, doesn't it?
Definitely. I wouldn't want to be without them.
I can be without the dog. Sends fear through you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So really, are you operating from a consciousness of fear or a consciousness of free choice?
Consciousness of fear.
You see what we're saying?
Yeah.
And how many of you in this group have the same psychology?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, there's certain things I think about that if I say, operate without them. Well, yes, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
But only certain things? Or everything? So, dear Maggie, is there anything in your life that you can, in effect, have or not have? It doesn't matter.
Have or not have it doesn't matter. Sure, I can. Oh,
Be
but it's
careful
fear
what you
again. I know. I cannot have walks on cold days, but that's fear of cold days. That's fear of being too cold. I don't think there is. When I really put it up, like, when I think of it, underlying everything I do, there's a fear of the consequence or attachment to.
Yes.
Yeah,
Interesting, isn't it?
it is.
So, to shift, what must you do?
Appreciate it. Be aware of it.
Okay. Big deal. So, there's appreciation, there's awareness.
Observe without judgment.
Okay, what else? All of that is interesting justification. What must you do? We'll give you a hint. 6-letter word, starts with C, ends with E.
Choose.
Oh, look at that.
The choose word.
And by that we don't mean here let your mind just say, convince you that you are choosing when you're really not. How will you ever change from a consciousness of fear to a consciousness of free choice? Choose.
Yeah.
There is no other way. You could spend time justifying it yourself. You could listen to this particular series all over again. You can see the benefit of it, and you can convince yourself that there's a benefit, but ultimately you must choose. Everything else is justification.
Everything else just seems to be in my mind as well.
Yes. So ultimately it comes down to choosing, doesn't it? However you get there, whatever journey you take, whatever road you go on, whatever way you use, you must choose. Is it? And that means that when you make the choice to move into a consciousness of free choice, that doesn't mean that everything will be free choice at that point. But it does mean that that will be the filter under which you operate. So you won't be looking at going out for a walk in the middle of winter and saying to yourself, oh dear, I'm afraid of the winter. You'll say, what do I choose? You may say, I'm afraid of the cold, but it'll still be based on, what do I choose? Do you see? The fear of the cold will not stop you from walking.
Exactly. Or it does now.
Where it does now.
Yeah.
Do you see?
Yeah.
The fear of being known to your grandchildren will not stop you from saying, what do I choose? To be with them or not to be with them?
Yeah.
Do you see?
Yeah. Because it's fearful to me right now.
You may still be afraid.
You may still have a fear of not being known by your grandchildren, but you won't say. It won't be the filter that stops you from making the choice.
Mm-hmm.
You see?
Yeah, I just choose to be with them.
Exactly.
There's no fear there. Yeah.
No, there may be fear, but it won't be that which affects the choice.
Yeah, I see.
You see the difference?
Yeah, as soon as I said it, I realized, of course,
Which right now,
fear's
of course.
allowed. Yeah.
Which right now, it affects your choice, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
You see what we're saying here, dear friends?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And this is where humanity must come to. It must come to the awareness that fear is, of course, part of its experience. Of course it's there. You're not going to turn around and from one minute to the next, and at the point of January the 1st, 2012, at 12:01 a.m., all fear will be dissipated. That's not going to happen. And everybody can ascend. That's not going to happen. And even the ones who convince themselves that they won't, they'll be different, they'll ascend, we assure you they won't. But what you can do is, as humanity begins to move through a consciousness of free choice rather than a consciousness of fear, it's simply, it will not filter. It'll, every choice through fear, it'll actually filter it through free choice and say, what do I choose? What does humanity choose? What does it want to do? And you will see that there will be an excitement that will build. There will be a certain freedom that will build, a certain level of joy that will build within humanity. And there won't be a contraction that you're presently observing in humanity. Humanity will actually start to expand. There will be more of a joy of, let's go out and explore, let's try different things, let's be more creative. Which is what will happen to you the more you move into a consciousness of free choice. Do you see what we're saying? To the one who is in a consciousness of free choice, is there not more creativity in your life?
Yes. But I was wondering, is it possible to sort of, this is new to me, to go back and forth? I mean, there's moments when I find myself choosing out of fear, or it seems like...
You choose out of fear, or you choose freely with fear involved?
Yes, the fear seems in the forefront, and there is fear involved, yeah.
Are you afraid of fear?
Not like I used to be. It's not... If I really look at it, yes, there are things that I feel afraid of losing, but it's not an overwhelming fear like it used to be. It's like, yes, I would...
But do you still allow yourself to choose freely, regardless?
Yeah.
Do you think? That's the key question, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. The fear is still there.
There will always be fear.
Yeah.
Humanity will not move away from fear. Not completely. But the key is, let's say you're afraid of crossing the river. If you're operating from the psychology of fear, or the consciousness of fear, then you will say to yourself, I'm afraid of crossing the river. Okay, I'm going to do it, and you're going to push against it to try to get across. I will not give power to fear. I will not give power to fear. I will not give power to fear. And you keep convincing yourself of that. You use affirmations, you use methodologies, anything to push against fear. But in the meantime, the fear is always there. If you operate from a consciousness of free choice, you look at yourself, you say, oh, I'm afraid of crossing the river. Okay, good. Do I do it or do I not? Well, let's see, what do I want to do today? Oh, okay, I'll cross. All right, I'll do it. Do you see?
Or I would look and say, well, is there like a boat I could use? Is
Good.
there something else I could use?
We didn't say you had to cross the river one way, did we?
Yeah, right.
So there's always alternatives. There's always creative perspectives, aren't there?
Yes, right. That's the creativity.
Yes. And you'll find that your life will start to become more joyful, because it won't be, I have to cross the river this way. It'll be, I cross the river. Do you see?
Because I want to.
Yes.
I choose to.
You'll see more choices, more opportunities for choices for yourself. It won't be just one or the other. Do you see? Consciousness of free choice expands existence so completely that you find yourself virtually excited all the time. Excited at waking up, excited at living, excited at experiencing. Do you see what we're saying?
Yeah.
Now here's another question for you. Can you move back and forth from one consciousness to another in your lifetimes? Can humanity be in a consciousness of free will, a free choice, and then go back into a consciousness of fear, and then revert to a consciousness of free choice, and go back to a consciousness of fear? Can that happen? Can it happen to you? Come on, dear friends, this is not that difficult a
I would
question.
think you can, yet you could choose that. You could choose anything.
So in the consciousness of free choice, you could choose to go back to a consciousness of fear, couldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But once you're in the consciousness of fear, what happens then?
You don't like it anymore.
Mm.
You've experienced the consciousness of free choice.
Not necessarily, no.
Really?
Because once you're into the consciousness of fear,
There's no.
you will stay there because that's all you now know.
Hmm.
And the only way to move is to simply choose.
So once you can't really go back and forth then. You can from the consciousness of free choice, but why would you go back into the other consciousness?
From the conscious, rephrase your question then, please, dear Maggie.
Okay. Maybe I misunderstood because I thought you said if you're in the consciousness of free choice, that you could choose to be in the consciousness of fear then,
Yes.
but you would never go back, you wouldn't go back to the consciousness of free choice, so actually you don't go back and forth.
Mm.
You're not in one for a while and then another and then back to another, and
No.
you just, you move.
You can move from one to the other. You can go from free choice, consciousness of free choice, to a consciousness of fear. But once you're in the consciousness of fear, it's so overwhelming to you that most individuals never move away from it.
Yeah.
The only way they can move away from it is to realize that the consciousness of free choice exists. Once that realization comes into their existence, then they can start choosing it. You see?
Yeah.
When you're in the consciousness of fear, all realizations about free choice simply dissipate. You don't think about it. It's not part of your existence. Do you see what we're saying?
Yeah.
Now, we've talked to all of you about free choice now for a long time, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
We've infused that into your consciousness for a long time, haven't we?
Yep.
Yes.
Why do you think we've been doing that?
Geez, so that we just might choose it?
So we
Exactly.
realize it's there.
Yes.
Exactly.
And then we can choose it.
So that in the realization, in the awareness that it exists, you now have an opportunity to choose, don't you?
Yep.
You see? But had we not brought this to your awareness, had we not been speaking to you for 9 years now about free choice, do you really think humanity would be aware that it has a consciousness of free choice available to it?
No, no.
No.
No. In fact, if you go back over history, you will realize that there was no other individuals speaking to humanity about free choice.
Mm-hmm.
No other consciousnesses, no other awarenesses. They talked about concepts similar to it, but it was all based on the consciousness of fear, wasn't it?
What about earlier times when you were speaking to humanity?
That was earlier times. We're talking about now. We have spoken to humanity many times about the consciousness of free choice, but it doesn't always take.
Right. Yeah, we figured that out. Yeah.
We've spoken to you many times about the consciousness of free choice. It hasn't always taken, has it?
That's correct.
Never mind other lifetimes. We're talking about this one alone.
Yeah.
So, we've come through for 9 years and consistently suggested free choice. Choose freely. Choose. Choose and choose again. In fact, some of you have gotten so frustrated and angry at us because every time you ask us a question, we say choose.
We do.
True?
Yeah.
Yep.
So why is it for 9 years we've been creating this opportunity? Because it was required in order to shift the humanity's consciousness. This is why these words have been spoken. This is why it's permeating into your conscious mind, eventually into your subconscious mind. And this is why humanity is now poised to choose differently. Individually, collectively, you must now choose. Dear Maggie,
Yes.
quit beating yourself over the head.
Okay.
You're doing it right now.
I know.
Why?
Perfection. Perfection
No,
thing.
consciousness of fear.
Oh,
Perfection is in the consciousness of fear.
yeah.
Do you choose to live in existence based on a consciousness of free choice? It's as simple as that.
Yes.
That's all that is required.
Beating yourself up is just justification,
It's
judgment, everything.
it's all about fear.
Yeah,
It's the filter of fear at play.
yeah. Hmm.
Do you want that?
No, not at all.
Okay. You can say to yourself, I'm not perfect, but you could choose differently, couldn't you?
Yes.
And isn't that what you're looking to do? What we're suggesting to you, dear Maggie, and to everyone else in this group here, isn't that what you're looking to do? You're looking to live a life where you're no longer using fear as the filter through which everything must go through.
Yes.
What do you choose in this moment? Why do you think we keep giving you this encouragement? If you had the opportunity to choose anything, absolutely anything you wanted to choose, without fear, without judgment, without guilt, what would you choose? Right?
Consciousness of free choice.
Good, then do it.
Yeah. It's that simple.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
And humanity must come to that awareness.
Yes.
This is the difficulty humanity has. It thinks this is an overwhelming choice to be made. Too difficult, too hard. Dear friends, if you can't do it, how do you expect humanity to do it?
Yeah.
This is why we've been encouraging humanity and yourselves to choose. And if you, as we said, if you look, go back over your history, look at all the sources that were channeled, look at all the teachers, all the gurus, all the the leaders of your world. No one is talking about a consciousness of free choice. They're talking about a consciousness of fear in which you pretend to choose freely. True?
Right, because
that's
people
true.
say, oh, I do that. I choose freely. But it's not the same thing that they're talking about.
No. They think they're choosing freely because they're not willing to look at the underlying fears that propel them to choose. And to dear Maggie's credit, if you've noticed, dear Maggie, how easily you looked at that.
Yes.
You went into it and just looked at it, didn't you?
Yeah.
Now, if that was the case, are you operating from a consciousness of fear? Or would you have pushed away from it if you were from a consciousness of fear?
I would have pushed away from it.
So,
I wouldn't have looked at it. Yeah.
So could it be, just possibly, be that all along you've been operating from a consciousness of free choice and using that consciousness to keep you exploring fear?
Oh.
Is that possible?
Yes.
You'd like to believe that, wouldn't you?
I sure would. I just felt my whole inside go, oh, maybe it's true. But not consciousness of fear, really.
That would certainly alleviate all that judgment you're
It
going
sure
through,
would.
wouldn't it?
It's like, oh, yeah.
Sorry, not true.
Oh, okay. I didn't think so.
What do you believe?
I'm still operating from the consciousness of fear, but I know about consciousness of free choice now, and I'm choosing that. That's where I'm moving.
Good.
Yeah. Can I say choosing and moving and still choose that?
Absolutely.
Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah. That's right.
I get the sense that the very presence of judgment indicates the consciousness of fear.
There is always judgment. Even in the consciousness of free choice, you'll still have judgment, because how else do you say to yourself, I choose this and not that? But the more judgment you have, then the more the consciousness of fear is there. Judgment is tied to fear. You think?
That's why I say that.
But it's not necessarily the consciousness of fear.
Okay.
You do see individuals, though, that they judge everything, don't they?
Oh yeah.
No matter what they do, no matter what they say, there's always judgment attached to it in some way, shape, or form. Those are the ones that are great examples of the consciousness of fear, don't you think?
Oh yeah.
Sound familiar?
Hey, I make a living at it.
Exactly.
But it means I can recognize it.
Yes. And it also means you could choose differently, couldn't you?
Yep,
Still make a living at it, but not be part of it.
that's right.
Interesting, wouldn't you say, dear friends?
Mm-hmm.
So, there you are, convinced that you're into the consciousness of free choice, all the while realizing you're in the consciousness of fear, or convinced you're in the consciousness of fear, all the while being in the consciousness of free choice, but none of you know exactly where you are. Well, some of you do, but most of you don't know exactly where you are. And you're all judging yourself really good, aren't you? Good for you. Now, take a look at everything you've gone through in this section and expand that, and you'll realize that's what humanity is going through. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Is humanity consciously going through it the way that we are right now?
No. But humanity is beginning to be. It's taken 9 years for us to use the word choose and to keep repeating it over and over again in such a way that finally some of it is getting in through the density of consciousness.
That would be me.
And others. We assure you,
more.
it's humanity as a
Oh, I'm
whole.
sure I'm not alone.
It's humanity as a whole. And yet, still, not a complete awareness. Do you see? So, it's going to take a little longer. Why the 2007 workshop? Because this is an opportunity for humanity to say to itself, now is the time to choose a consciousness of free choice. That's all. And the more we speak about free choice, the more we speak about choosing, the more individuals begin to become aware. In fact, you will notice that the more that dear Renee and dear Maggie have allowed us to speak through your medium, television, radio, internet, the more individuals become aware. Do you see? Consciously aware. And so more can choose. There's that word choose again.
Yeah.
You see? The difference between us speaking previously in your history and us speaking now in your history is that now you have a modality by which we can communicate with more individuals in a more free perspective. Do you see? Where previously individuals had to come to us, travel to see us, and there was a movement through the subconscious. Now they can actually consciously connect with us more easily through using the technology that is available. Do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Technology has its benefits, don't you think?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. What did you say, dear Maggie?
Yes, for sure.
How's the beating going on?
Oh, it's gone.
Is it?
Very little. Every time I look, there's something there, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why do you keep beating yourself?
Oh, we're not out there enough. And as you were talking, I think, isn't that great? We're out there, we're doing another radio show, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, how are we going to get out there more? And that's beating, I guess, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. Instead of just saying, gee, look at what we're doing, isn't that awesome, amazing, and
There will be more.
exactly. It's always anticipation.
If you really choose the consciousness of free choice,
Mm-hmm.
then you'll stop the beating.
Yes. I guess that's when I'll realize I'm operating from the consciousness of free choice. There won't be the push-pull, the beating,
Yes.
there'll be the excitement, there'll be the
Yeah.
joy, there'll be,
There'll be
Just
all of
beating.
that, but the thing is you won't be beating yourself.
yes,
Self-flagellation is fun for you, isn't it?
yes, I think so.
You think so?
Yes,
Keep
it
beating
is.
yourself, find out.
Yeah, it is. Otherwise
You're
I wouldn't
enjoying
do
it so
so
much.
Yeah, exactly.
So why is it so much fun? Are you into a little S&M?
No.
So you're not the type of person that likes to be harmed, physically hurt.
Physically hurt. I think I do a lot of it with my mind.
But emotionally hurt
Yes.
and mentally hurt, yes.
Yeah,
So perhaps it's time to examine those areas of your life.
for sure.
You see, humanity as a whole must come to realize that what we're speaking about here in the consciousness of free choice versus the consciousness of fear. In the consciousness of fear, there is physical harm humanity creates to itself. But if you take a look at humanity as a whole, you're also harming yourselves emotionally and mentally. And spiritually, of course. To shift to a consciousness of free choice, humanity must begin to set aside this desire to harm itself. To do so, yes, which will start first. To a degree, wars will stop. Not completely, but there will be a greater appreciation of humanity, of the differences, of the regionality of the humanity, of the perspectives of humanity. And so there will be an emotional healing and a mental healing and a spiritual healing that will take place that will finally manifest itself on the physical healing. So it won't be physical first, dear friends. Do you see what we're saying?
Yes.
Look for the signs. When you start seeing the emotional, mental, and spiritual healing of humanity, you will realize and recognize that humanity is moving towards this consciousness of free choice. And at that point, you can encourage it even more, can't you?